Okay, my husband is the man with the Poseidon beard here, Harold. And I noticed I'm actually wearing the exact same outfit. And this picture, I just saw that. I need to get some more clothes, I think. Okay. And then my oldest is Michael over here with his fiancée, Ingrid. And next in line is Cider and Delaney. They're twins. And then this is Delaney and Cole, who will probably be joining our family soon. We'll see how that goes. And then Jeremy is up there with us. And then Soraya, that Jamie mentioned, is there with me on a forced family hike, which we'll talk about at the end of my session. So she doesn't look too forced, does she? She's tolerating the hike well. Okay, so Jamie announced the title of my session, and it's actually a question. It's not a statement yet. It's more like the joy of being a woman, kind of a thing. So let me see if I can figure out how to do this here. There we go. All right, it looks different on my screen, but we're good. Okay. So of course, as many of you know, I like to start off with a self-depreciating story to make some points and settle myself in up here. And so this story is not for Eric's ears, so we're going to pretend like Eric is not standing in the back. He's going to get more than he bargained for, I think, today. This is a women's only story. Okay, so this is my Spanx story. Does everybody know what Spanx is? Okay, am I getting lots of yeses or maybe not? Okay. So Spanx is that tight bodice thing that you wear under your clothes, right? It's supposed to make everything smaller and smoother, less lumpy. I have a picture of what it's supposed to do. So, yeah, I found it hard to believe that seems to be the same person, but because that was not my experience. But I'll get into that. Okay, so so this is one of my examples of the joy of being a woman, right? I went to my niece's wedding about 6 years ago, and I thought, I'm going to buy a new dress. Now, I was forced to wear dresses every day my whole growing up. So I don't wear them anymore. I just choose not to, mostly. So I was like, I'm going to wear a dress. This was a big step for me, getting back into a dress. I looked everywhere for a picture of it, and there's probably a reason why it doesn't exist anymore. But it was navy blue, and it was off the shoulder, and it had this little, ruffle, and then it had this belt, and I put on cowboy boots. It was like, whatever. I'm not very fashion-minded, but while I was at the store, I was like, oh, this looks a little lumpy. I should get myself some shapewear, which is the other word for it, right? So I grabbed some off the rack and did not try it on and went home. So I didn't try anything on until I was getting ready for the wedding, and I was like, oh, this is going to fit. So, you wrestle into it, and then the dress, oh my goodness, it's smooth and it's not lumpy. So I walked to the car, and by the time I got to the car in the driveway, it was like already riding up, the shapewear was, okay? So I was like, oh, this is no big deal, so just keep pulling it down. Well, we had to stop at Walmart to get something. So I walked through Walmart, and it became not just shimmying up, it became a roll. Like it was rolling back on itself, and it was like up to here. And I was like, this is defeating the entire purpose of my whole life right now. So I'm looking at my husband, and so I'm in the car, and I'm like trying to unroll it under the dress, right? I'm like, this is terrible. Anyway, so I spent the entire wedding either sitting at my table or in the bathroom unrolling. Like there was no other options. There was no dancing. It was like, to the buffet, get some food, back to the buffet. It was miserable. So let's see, I think I have another picture. All right, so this was the problem. If anyone needed an education on Spanx, this is just your very little bit, okay? This is what I bought. I did not buy the one with the leg holes, like that are like shorts built in. I bought the skirt one because I was wearing a dress. All right, so I think that was part of the problem. That's why everything just kept rolling up to my waist. All right, I'm just trying to figure out where I am. Okay, so, I talked about the buffet. I thought I couldn't get any more miserable. Right before we left, my husband comes up to me and he puts his arm around me. He's like, "How long have you had that rip in the back of your dress?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And so it was pretty flimsy material, and it had a liner, but it ripped on a seam that went like right down the back right here. And I was like, I don't know. But I'm sitting there, and so I'm like shrugging into my coat as he's talking to me. I'm like, we're just going to put this puppy on because it had a nice long back. And I think it was when I was picking up after the kids, I like kind of kneeled and squatted down to pick up these toys. So that's probably when it happened. So that was close to the end of the stay, right? I don't know. But I did not wear anything underneath the Spanx. And that was why I just had this horrified look right in my mind. I'm like, I'm totally covered. Do you see the picture? Everything is covered, but it wasn't. Everything covered. Anyway, so that was my horrible story of Spanx. I got home and I just threw it all in the garbage. It all just went. I was like, this is stupid. I've never bought another pair. But that was what I thought of when I thought about the joy of being a woman is our struggle, right? Okay, let me flip my page here. Okay, so I started thinking about the joy of being a woman, and the list got a little bit long, but the things that we sarcastically are like, oh, this is great, right? The first menstrual cycle, the horrors of having to buy your first pads in the store, and the guy who rings you up is like some young teenager at Walgreens. Yeah, right, that horror feeling, or sending your dad, and your dad's like, what? What am I doing? Let's see, the shaving, the waxing, the plucking, all the different options we have for underwear and bras, all right? The trips to the OBGYN, right? The probing and the scooting. Then if you have children, right? The childbearing, the leaking milk, the stretch marks. Then we venture into menopause, which I'm 48, so I'm just waiting with dreaded anticipation to see where this is going to land me, right? But what I hear, right, the hot flashes and the night sweats, yay! The sagging body parts, the brittle bones, the gray hair that, I'm 2 weeks out from my next fix, and I'm like, oh, it needed to be last week, right? That whole thing that we all keep trying to cover up. So I looked through this list, and I was like, oh, right, the joy of being a woman, really? But today, I do want to try and take that question mark and make it an exclamation point. So we'll see if I succeed. But so there's our. So there's something far more exciting going on in the life of women, right, than tweezers and hip replacements and all of that. So some of you might be familiar with what I'm going to share with you. This might be new for some of you. But it's just about our crucial role on this earth. And I just wanted to review it because we're at the start of Ripples. We are a mom's group. We are more than that. Remember, Jamie and Ashley have invited all women, right? All women of any age to join. So I just wanted to kind of start off the year talking about what our role is and how crucial it is for us and for our communities, for the world around us. All right, so as always, right, we start in Genesis. That's like what everybody does, I think. So right alongside Adam, we were given the mandate from God to rule and reign, right next to him. What that means, and I know if anybody here has taken Discipleship 1, Luke goes over this in great detail, the bookends, where we are to take responsibility and authority over our areas of influence. So this can be a pretty long list for some of us, right? Our homes, households, our children, our finances, our belongings, our careers, our ministries, and most importantly, ourselves. So this is a job that was given to both men and women at the very beginning, and we were commissioned into this great role of ruling well with his guidance. So these are the two bookends, right? Genesis in the beginning, he says, let us make mankind so that they may rule. I'm just reading the highlighted portion. And then again at the end, in Revelation, it says, and they will reign on the earth. So, right, we should all be excited. Rulers get to wear crowns, right? Don't we all want to be Princess Diana? Or, well, she's dead, but when she was chosen to be the princess, right? We all wanted. I'm totally dating myself here too, right? To be crowned, to be royalty in a way. So I was really excited about that mandate. But then a couple verses later, my excitement is kind of squashed. Oh my goodness, Eric, I'm so sorry. Hang on. Okay, so that's in Genesis 1. If we go just a couple verses later into Genesis 2, we get the verses that have always kind of like deflated my role, and that is, right, it's not good for man to be alone. I will make him a helper suitable. And then the one that I was raised on was the KJV, I will make him a helpmeet. And, it was like, yeah, I get to rule and reign, and I get to be a helper. And I just remember over my life, I was trying to think of examples of how that played out historically and culturally for me. I grew up in a church where this was explained to us as young women, that whatever your husband wants to do, you help him do it. So whatever his career is, you support him and back him 100%. Whatever vacation he wants to take, that's what you're going to do. Whatever meals he prefers, that's what you're going to make. And then I had one woman who always wore her hair the same, and she's like, oh, I only wear it this way because my husband likes it this way. And I was like, well, how do you like your hair? Like, do you want it to look like that all the time? Like, these are my questions. So this idea of, for me, it was interpreted, and I know not everybody has had the same experience. I know generations are different. For me, it was interpreted as your goals or your desires or your wants are second. They come second if they come at all, right? So I want to look, though, really closely at that word, helper or helpmeet, and we're going to look at it in the Hebrew, and I'm not a Hebrew speaker, but we're going to try. The root Hebrew is ezer kenegdo. I think that's how you say it. And when you look at it in the Bible and you look at its translation, it's actually something much bigger than what I was told it was, right? So it means to rescue, to save, and to be strong. So I'll just put that up there. No, hang on. There. Okay. So 2 times it's used in the Bible for women, and then there's a whole bunch of other times it's translated. 16 of those refers to God himself. And I just wrote on the side, and I'm going to have to read it because I didn't have it in my notes. Oh, I put the verses on your table if you're interested. I printed them out. So you can kind of, I pulled out these words from these verses that talk about God. So we look at it, and we get a whole different feel for what helper means, okay? So God was my helper. He saved me from the sword. He is a help against his foes. No one is like God who rides across the heavens to help you. He is your shield, your sword. He sends help from the sanctuary. And again, a shield, a deliverer. He is their help and shield. My help comes from the Lord. Our help is in the name of the Lord. And blessed are those whose help is the God of Jacob. So I was looking at... I heard somebody else speak on this, and they were talking about how this is more, like when I read that, I hear war terms, right? I hear somebody who needs to be valiant, who has some war expertise. These are people who are in trouble, who are going to die if somebody does not come in and save them. That's more of the feel that I was getting when I was reading through it. So when all seems lost, and when their life is at stake, we see God coming in as helper. So, just the shield, that's like a protective stance. The sword is an offensive, sending provisions from a place of safety, right? You're shoring up somebody. So it's when you have a task and you're not going to succeed and you need someone to come alongside and be the lifesaver. That's basically what this word is talking about. So I wanted to talk, though, that this this doesn't exclude the women who are not married. I really think that the gift of the woman was to the earth and to mankind in general, right? So whether you're married, you're single, you're divorced, you're widowed, it doesn't mean, oh, I'm not a helper anymore, because I think God gifted all of us with this ability to save lives and to be strong. So it's not like, oh, this only applies to us if we're married. That's my opinion. So when you think of a woman, though, you think of their resilience, our abilities to hold hope in really terrible circumstances. We have a strength. Some of us are very quiet about it, and then we have a strength, and some of us are very loud about it too, which is fine. Okay, so let me see. So these pictures, I was pretty impressed. I was like, okay, I don't match up to this one for sure. Can you see? She's carrying 2 kids, and she looks like she's pregnant with triplets. Like, I just can't even. And then, yeah, the strength of that woman there. These 2 were pulled from the war in Ukraine. This woman, oh, she makes me weep. She's she's an OB nurse, and she got knocked unconscious. She was telling her story. I was reading the story behind the picture, and she got knocked unconscious by a bomb. She said she woke up and she had 3 kids in her arms. Like, she didn't even remember scooping kids. So you see she's on the phone, obviously probably calling in help, but that's how she came to, right? She was A&O times 0, because I'm an ER nurse. She didn't know where she was, but when she woke up, she had 3 babies in her arms. So unconsciously, right, what we do. Okay, now let me go back. Okay, so that was the Azer portion. The Conegdo portion here is translated a mirror image, equal but different, and a counterpart. So this is kind of a location in response, or in relation to man and mankind, right? We stand next to and face off against them, meaning it's not a hierarchy, right? One is more important than the other. It's an equal playing field. So kind of redid the definition just a little bit here. So this idea that, so women, what are we? We are the life bringers. Our bodies are the ones that bring life into the world, correct? So we house it, we bring it forth, but then God also gave us the ability to nourish it and feed it and nurture it, and then we sustain it. So it's like our role doesn't end with just the life bringing. We actually hold life out for all of mankind. And this is seen a lot in our words and the way we interact, right? All the mama bears. We're mama bears for our own, but I see women who are also mama bears for others, right? That's what women do. We fight. So let me just see where I am here. So yeah, the new definition for me is I am a sustainer beside my husband. I'm also a sustainer and a lifesaver to my children. And then in my job at the ER, yes, I do that. But with my coworkers there in the women's ministry, the same thing. So you can see how it kind of ripples out with that. And I just like this definition better than helpmeet. Okay. So giving this, just trying to broaden our view of how crucial our role is as women, I just wanted to put out this idea that, so many of us are still in the trenches, especially those with the little babies, right? The little toddlers and the infants. Like, I couldn't think a day to be like, I'm a lifesaver, I was like, oh my gosh, if they give me one more thing to do, I'm going to cry. Like, that's how, or I'm going to quit, or I'm just going to, yeah. So just this idea that for us to fulfill this role, we have to be connected to God, because He is that never-ending source of life, right? He's the river of life. He's our hope. He's our sustainer. So just this idea that a life giver is connected to Jesus, who is the fountain of life. The sword wielder, when you're going on the offense for someone, you have to know how to wield it. The shield holder in protective mode, again, has to know how to do that. you cannot sustain others if you are not filled and nourished by God yourself. So we're going to take some time this morning, which is why some of you might have heard we're supposed to wear comfortable shoes. We have a little bit of a activity because I think a lot of us have these crazy lives. I don't know how many of you were rushing around to find your clothes and all of your diaper bag items and get your casserole here on time and make sure it's hot, all right? So I just wanted to give you guys an opportunity today we're going to take some time, and it's just going to be you and Jesus. Back to the Force Family hike, we've mowed all the paths on the property. So if you are game, that was our first send you out to walk those. If you're not game, because it was sprinkling, I don't know, would you call that a rain? I was like, oh no, not rain this morning. I walked them last night, and they'll be okay. If you're fairly steady on your feet, they'll be fine. The second option is we could have you sit in this room over here and open the doors outside that go down the fire escape if you want to just do that and not be out in the elements. The third option is here in the loft, and we're just going to play music. So basically, this is time for yourselves. I don't know how some of you might not have enough of that. Some of you might have too much of that. But the whole goal is just to be quiet, and you're just going to hang out with Jesus. I didn't really have an assignment per se, besides I want this to be a time of receiving and not of giving, because you guys give all day, all night to everybody. So just a time of sitting and receiving. So whatever God wants to communicate in that time, I didn't want to put a limit on it. Let me just see if there's, the last slide, yeah, the Forced Family hike, okay. I think that's it. We were hoping to do about 25 minutes, and I think we're good on time for that. So who all thinking they might head out on the trail? A couple of you? Okay. All right. How about we meet back here for groups by quarter after? I know that's pushing into groups just a little bit. Is that okay, Jamie? I don't know where Jamie is. Oh, yeah. Is that okay? Okay. So meet back here for your groups at quarter after. That way it'll give those who are trailing it time to get out there and get settled before they start their time. So they get their full 25. Does that work? Okay. I think that's it. Yeah.